Well, a very, very happy Thursday, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is February 5th of 2026, and I hope everyone has having themselves a good day, a good evening as we get ready for the Super Bowl this Sunday. I'm going to ask you guys to bear with me because allergies have gotten the best of me. So it has really taken a toll today, but I'm mustering through to make sure I could get an episode out there for you guys. I want to talk some sports with you guys, and I want to begin things off with the Cincinnati Bengals. There was a article or headlines that came out as Joe Burrow has sent a powerful message back during the early back during the Pro Bowl earlier this week. Um, Joe Burrow, Joe Flacco, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins were a part of the Pro Bowl earlier this week. Kind of just like a flag football game. Not really too invested into the Pro Bowl. I kind of think it's more pointless when players are opting out. So I'm not really all that intrigued. What I am intrigued about is what Joe Burrow had to say. He was kind of asked about having fun with football. And I get that. That's kind of been the storyline for Joe Burrow over this past season. He got hurt with the turf toe, requires surgery. He was out. He came back early, but the damage was already done, and the Bengals didn't go on to play in the playoffs. And there was a part during the season where Joe Burrow expressed his frustration. He exclaimed how not having fun with the team can impact a performance and raised a lot of questions about what the future looks like for Joe Burrow with the Cincinnati Bengals. And it was this big rant all winter long. You had fans out there at the gates calling for a new head coach, calling for a new GM. You had fans buying billboards, putting up signs in hopes to protect Joe Burrow. Due diligence were done because we wanted to save our franchise quarterback. But when asked at the Pro Bowl, is he happy playing for the Bengals? This is what he had to say, and I'm going to reread it quote for quote. Yes, I am. I think everybody has a bad day, right? Everybody has a bad day. Sometimes they fall on press conference days. So that's how it goes sometimes. He was also asked if, and he was also asked about the possibility of being traded this offseason back in December, or if he could see anyone else playing for anywhere else next season. And he says, no, I can't see that at all. No. So Burrow goes on and says, you think about a lot of things. A lot of crazy things happen every year. Micah Parsons got traded to right before the season. That's something I hadn't seen in a long time. And so NFL, so the crazy things happen. So my point is that Joe Burrow has a different point of view, a different perception of how he's enjoying playing football. And I get it. Everyone has a bad day. He's going through a turf toe. The Bengals were struggling defensively. They were struggling offensively. You'd figure that when you were able to come back from being healed from this injury, you're capable of at least contending. And half of that went away very quickly when you couldn't beat your own division. I get it. People have bad days. And I'm not expecting everyone to have their best day every day, especially on press conference days. I'm going to call straight through the BS because regardless of if you having a bad day, Joe, you told us and you gave us a clear indication that you weren't having fun. And if you are not having fun, then the rest of the organization is not having fun. And if the rest of the organization's not having fun, the fans aren't having fun. And I get it. You can have those bad days, but I'm going to have those same days with you. And I want to make that clear because if you're having a bad day and you're bringing the vibe down, I'm going to join you because we support you, Joe. You are the centerpiece of this entire franchise. It doesn't matter if Jamar Chase is having a bad day. It doesn't matter if T. Higgins is having a bad day. If Joe Burrow is having a bad day, then the entire Bengals nation is going to have a bad day. If you go out and you express on your bad day how you're not having fun, how you feel like maybe it's pointless, we are going to come to your defense in order to fight for a better day for Joe Burrow. So I get it. You can have bad days. And I get it. One of those days happened during a press conference in the middle of the week. It raised a lot of questions. And now, look, you were gone for 2/3 of the season. You still made the Pro Bowl along with Joe Flacco, along with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So I get it. You're having fun now, and that's great. We're happy for you. Don't expect us to put that back on the back burner that you had a bad day back in November or December, and you at one point made us to believe that you were wanting out of Cincinnati. Let's not ignore the fact that this team was terrible on defense, was terrible on offense, and not a single thing was done about it through the head coach, Zach Taylor, or the general manager, Duke Tobin. Let's not sit here and pretend that everything was fine when things weren't, and we know it. We're not blind. Regardless of whether or not you came to social media or you took a press conference and indicated that you were tired, that you weren't having fun. It doesn't matter because we saw it. It was the energy you left on the field. And I get it. Everyone, I'm not mad or upset because you've had a bad day, you had a bad week, or you had a bad performance because everyone does get those days. We're not upset because you're having a bad day. We're upset because the Bengals had gotten to the point where it made you feel that way. I'm surely enough, if things were a bit different, if we were much more in a better contenders opportunity, those words would never come out. And as a fan who understands that this team is built around a franchise quarterback, and that quarterback's Joe Burrow, anything he says or he does, if he jumps off a cliff, we're jumping off with him. He is our light and savior of this organization. And it doesn't matter what he does. He will never do wrong in our opinions, in our mindsets. He will always be right. And we will always follow in every direction that he goes. We want the absolute best for Joe Burrow. And it's clear as a fan base perspective that last season was not what was best for Joe Burrow. And then it starts trickling down what's best for Jamar Chase, what's best for Chase Brown, what's best for T. Higgins and so on and so forth. So it's great that he cleared things up and he's having fun. And the interpretation and the vibe and the energy now, today, on a Thursday before Super Bowl, before officially the offseason begins in the NFL. Maybe today he's having fun, playing around, he's enjoying himself, and I'm glad to see that. Don't expect us to believe that it's anything else, because I'm not buying it. Excuse me. The Cincinnati Reds, they haven't really made much news since the Suarez deal, but a former Cincinnati Reds has been able to sign and join a team, as it was announced this morning that Miguel Andujar joins the San Diego Padres on a 1-year, $4 million deal. If we did not receive Suarez earlier this week, I would have came on here and be absolutely livid that the Reds did not acquire Miguel Andujar. The next closest thing that we had for a power hitting batter in this lineup. But now, learning earlier this week about the player we do have, I feel good. I feel comfortable with watching Miguel go on to a better team. The Padres are a good team. I know that they're in the midst of selling their organization, and that's going to take some time, and I get that. But they are a good team. And Miguel Andujar is just another player that can help contribute to a playoff run. He deserves it too. He had a good season in the back end with the Reds, and I only hope that that continues over there in San Diego. The weather's a little bit more nicer. You're playing a little bit more competitive baseball. We'll tell you that for sure. And you are going to be given and put in positions where you have the opportunities of winning. So if you could carry over what you had, the performance you had back during the regular season for the Reds in the second half of the year, then you will fit in just fine. Guys like Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Michael King, Nick Pivetta, so on. You fit comfortably in that lineup. Good for him. We'll keep an eye out for him throughout the course of the year. We only see the Padres twice, one early on here in the season. We'd actually head out to San Diego, I want to say, at the end of April or May, and then they don't come to Great American Ballpark until the beginning of September. So a couple of dates on my calendar I'm looking to go watch. But Miguel Andujar is a San Diego Padre heading into this season. And we're counting down the days. It's February 5th, 5 days before pitchers and catchers report. We are 15 days before this first spring training game. And maybe I'm jumping a little bit too far ahead of myself, because trust me, it is a long spring training, and I don't need people to get drained of baseball before the season even starts. But it's still exciting. I'm excited, and you should be too, because the Bengals aren't in the playoffs, and we have something to fight for as Reds organization. Other Major League Baseball news: the Detroit Tigers and left-handed pitcher Framber Valdez has agreed to a 3-year, $115 million deal. This was one of the off-season pitchers that I was curious on why he wasn't picked up sooner. He rejected the Houston Astros and their extended offer earlier this offseason. And even the Detroit Tigers were in the mix of possibly selling or trading Tariq Skubal. Well, the Detroit Tigers were a competitive team last year, made it to the postseason, and this only adds some fuel to that fire in hopes as he will join Skubal, Jack Flaherty, Casey Mize, Reese Olson, Drew Anderson, and name just a few among that list to provide depth for the Tigers' rotation. It got me looking into an article that you could find on CBSSports.com. It was reviewing the top 3 best and the bottom 3 worst farm systems in Major League Baseball. And I was reviewing this list that I will share with you guys here in a moment. And I just, it kind of it got me thinking about, well, where does the Cincinnati Reds sit among this list? Because we got Alfredo Duno, we got Sal Stewart up there, we got who else we got? I think we got one other. I think we got a pitcher. And for me, I've kind of strayed away since moving up here to Cincinnati. I've kind of backed away from what was going on in the farm system. I just haven't gotten a chance to keep up to date since the pandemic of what's going on in the farm system. I used to pay attention to it all the time in San Diego. I was actually a big fan of the Lake Elsinore Storms, which at the time they were the Padres single A affiliate. And they have now moved to like a lower A baseball club now, but they're up in Lake Elsinore, which is about an hour up north of us. And I used to go there, $5 tickets, just a fun, relaxing time. It was a time where you got a really chance to get down and get some really good seats, but also get to know the players and watch the future stars grow. Guys like Alan Dykstra, Cody Decker, Jeff Decker, um, just to name a few, and to watch the history because there's players like Khalil Green and Chase Hudley and so on and so forth that's played for the Storms and now are alumni. Jake Peavy, for example. And so to be able to watch the younger kids always thrives to me. So I love college baseball. I love even high school baseball. But the farm system, I feel I will take very importance. There are teams that work the farm system very well. They stack up players. They are great developing them. And it's a combination of bringing these guys up and giving them an MLB readiness opportunity to using them as trade chips and getting some Major League Baseball ready talent in exchange for some potential talent. So looking at this list got me thinking about, well, how does the Reds look? They're not mentioned here. They're not even close to being mentioned here. And also how the Padres mentioned because they were also very big about it. But I'm going to start off with the worst teams. And the first worst team in the farm system aspect has to come from the Houston Astros. They're the only team without a player in the top 100 prospects. Most of their past decisions are a win now mentality when it comes down to trades. It's win now trades. I want players who are ready now, and the picks I could sell my early picks in exchange, and I could worry about the draft later. This offseason, the Astros dealt two of their arguably top best prospects in outfielder Jacob Melton and right-handed pitcher Anderson Brito. The only to pick up right-handed pitcher Mike Burrows from the Pirates. Not really much going on there. Houston has shown the ability to unearth players at the pro level, but they will have to continue in order to provide big league depth. And it's one of those stories where everything eventually does catch up to you in time. So if you're one of those teams that as long as you can continue backing up the pro level baseball players that are ready now that you can get by the next 3 to 4 years, then and you don't have that farm system much in place, then that's what's going to keep you alive. The moment you got to turn to your farm system due to injuries, due to lack of resources, due to depth, that's when you're going to get exposed. And that's what we saw last year. So we'll figure out this year if it happens again. The Colorado Rockies makes this list. Only 2 players come out in the top 100 prospects from Colorado. First baseman Charlie Condon, and who was a disappointment since the draft night. And then you got shortstop, third baseman Ethan Holiday, a very highly drawn, talented player. A lot of hopes, a lot of expectations from this kid. But the question still remains about his big game if his swings and misses will undercut the performance of the power and patience this kid has. The Rockies now have a new brain trust in place, and it's worth giving them a chance to a overhaul in player development. And the last team on my list here as the worst farm system is coming with the Kansas City Royals. Just several teams only had 1 prospect make the top 100. The Kansas City Royals were one of their teams. Despite this number, the Royals do have some arms in the farm that can lift their numbers over time. Kendi Chourio and Davis Shield. They spent the past few years graduating players like outfielder Jace Caliganori and left-handed pitcher Noah Cameron. I apologize if I butcher those names. But they are kind of in a crossroads where they don't really have many people following. So they are another team that's relying on talent stars today. Now let's take a look at the best. Milwaukee Brewers would made the list. They have both good depth and a couple good infielders with sky-high ceilings. Jesus Made might be the number 1 prospect this time next year. Luis Pena, if he continues to climb. Infielder, outfielder Jet Williams. Right-handed pitcher Logan Henderson. And catcher Jefferson Cuero has made the top 100, giving Milwaukee at least top 5 top players who made this list. And, infielder Cooper Pratt, right-handed pitcher Bishop Leston, and Brandon Sprout, who nearly missed the list. So, they got rid of Freddie Peralta. But one thing about Milwaukee is that they're capable of turning that back around and developing talent. And they're not going to just give anyone away without receiving. That's what we saw here in the trade a couple weeks ago. So Milwaukee's on that list. The Seattle Mariners had 7 players make the top 100 prospect. Infielder Colt Emerson, pitcher Cade Anderson, Ryan Sloan, Durangelo Sinjanita. Apologize to butcher that name. There's others that make the boom or bust types, like outfielders Lazaro Montas and Johnny Farmello. This is an impressive group coming from Seattle, and that's a dangerous sign for anybody in the NL West. What's on the number 1 list, and why not, is the Los Angeles Dodgers. They never pick high in the draft. The luxury tax often means their first pick is about 10 spots lower than what it would be, and yet they're reliably turn around good players all the time. They're good at the starting position, and they're great at depth, and no matter who they trade, no matter who they get rid of, they always seem to be a solid team from single A to triple for major leagues. Executives have pointed out that the Dodgers staff size and their ability to individualize development plans for each player. They're so stacked in the scouting and development staff. They take a lot of pride into their work, and because of that, they've been able to scout out players and work one-on-one. This isn't, well, I'm just going to bring you in Let's throw you in the mix, and if one person could get around to you at some point, cool, great. No, everybody who comes to the Dodgers organization down there in the minors has somebody personal that they're working with. And the Dodgers is the set tone. The current crop includes outfielders Jose De Paula, Eduardo Quintero, Zari Hope, and with an impressive amount of depth, there's no reason why they'd be going away anytime soon. The Dodgers are, if you're looking to be developed, if you're someone who just needs to be developed to get a real look, the Dodgers organization is one of them. And they are a team that will continue So I was just reading a message. Um and I if I was in the minor leagues right now, if I was in high school, if the Dodgers even had a glimpse of an eye at me, I'd say take it. Because that is where you're going to get the best of the best work and your best shot if you're going to become a Major League Baseball player, because they'll use you, they'll send you out there, and you'll be somebody. Trust me. I'm sure that there are other candidates out there that make a very good, that have good prospects and farm systems. The Reds have had a couple out there, but if I forgot a team, I do apologize. But these are the teams that I have on that list. All right, before we get into our final segment of the evening, I wanted to give a shout out and talk a little bit about Enlighten Studios. Coming up here at the end of the calendar month, Enlighten Studios is putting on a theater production called Grassroots. Enlighten Studios is a faith-based performing arts company that is local to the Cincinnati area. And in 2026, they have a couple events they are excited and looking forward to presenting and helping to grow their community, not just within the faith-based, but within their productions and performances. Grassroots kicks off the 2026 calendar year. It is set in the 1950s, where reality of neighborhoods still face discrimination. And so this journey of a black family who moves into the neighborhood is being told by their son. And you see the changes and the truths that come out through the neighborhood in the drama, in the speculations, in hindsight. It's one story that's been told on the porch and will sit with you moving forward. A little taste of what the 1950s is like. And when reality hits, the 1950s still isn't so far away from what we deal with today. Grassroots will be premiered at the Artsville Theater in Cincinnati, Ohio from February 27th through March 8th. And we invite you to come out and get your tickets by visiting tickettailor.com. A link will be provided in the description below. Also, Enlighten Studios has another event coming up next week. It's called Paint Pastries. If you guys have heard that on our show, I have to announce that they have canceled that event due to the lack of interest people have not gotten tickets for. It's usually an event that is gathered for groups and parties and reserved. And at some point they would like to grow it for a monthly event that people can come together and join. But until then, we will unfortunately be canceled. Now, if you're still interested in having a session with a local artist, I encourage you to head over to Enlighten Studio social media pages, especially on Facebook. Reach out to them and they will coordinate and help you out the best they can. Alrighty. Well, the Super Bowl is coming our way this coming up Sunday. Seattle Seahawks take on the New England Patriots. And something I've kind of been putting off here the last couple of weeks that I like to revisit in the light is give you my first initial reaction of what this Super Bowl brings between these two teams. One thing that I will give credit where credit's due is what they have been able to. I've been impressed with these two teams, especially during the off season. I surely believe that the NFC West division was one of the most toughest divisions out of the entire league. And we knew that the Patriots were starting to come together. But if you told me today that the Super Bowl will be hosted between the Seahawks and the Patriots, I'd scratch my head. And a matter of fact, the entire playoff has witnessed new football teams, which makes things a little bit difficult to predict and to get behind. We're so used to the Bengals. We're so used to the Buffalo Bills. We're so used to the Kansas City Chiefs. And even the good teams that did make it, like the Eagles and the Rams, all had a stopping point as young, developing teams that were clawing their way through made their mark in this year's postseason. I'm talking about the Chicago Bears, talking about the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. These are teams that I'd honestly did not expect to go nearly as far as they did, and that's what impresses me. I enjoy it a lot. Maybe I don't express it often, but I do enjoy it quite often. And so I look at these two teams, and yes, it does remind me of their Super Bowl run, but these two teams have come a long way since then. Let's take a look at the New England Patriots for an example. They haven't been back to the playoffs since the Tom Brady and Bill Belichick era, which ended back in 2019, 7 years ago. And not only they made it to the playoffs, but they've also made it to the Super Bowl under a defining Drake May. Now, Drake May has had an MVP caliber year, has yet to show much in the postseason. We're hoping it's a little bit of rust. Maybe the Super Bowl is something that brings the best out of him. But their defense has also stepped up quite big. And so this is a team that, for me, I could get behind on. The 2019 New England Patriots was a team that dynasty you kind of just dreaded. You didn't like. You loved Tom Brady. You knew the Hall of Fame caliber that we're witnessing, and let's see how long that run can go. But in reality, you hated him. You hated the Patriots. You hated this dynasty. You were sick to your stomach every time your team was called upon to face this team, especially in the playoffs, because you knew what they were capable of doing. Just like we hate the Kansas City Chiefs every time they come to our front door. They have dominated in ways that we have not been able to explain nor give credit to. And yet they have provided the most entertainment over the past several years. And since the fact that the Patriots are returning, I find a different point of view. I find a point of view that actually excites me and actually wants me to root for the New England Patriots. What about those Seattle Seahawks? Sam Darnold, I know it's not a one man show, but Cooper Cup, this is a team that had some accolades they had to overcome. They were being tested. And that was one of the questions that was asked by a lot of different teams this season was how real are you? How serious are you? And it was you're going to show what you're capable of by winning football games. And the Seahawks held their own quite fairly against their own division, especially in the Rams and those 49ers. Matter of fact, the Seahawks beat the Rams and the 49ers in the playoffs in order to advance to the Super Bowl. So are we taking the Seahawks as a real team? But one of my questions heading into this Super Bowl, heading into who really needs a victory out of this Super Bowl, comes from who is going to outlast the other team. Not just in the game, but in the next couple years. Here's what I mean. I feel like the Patriots have a franchise quarterback that they could work around, that they could build with. They have a fan favorite head coach in Brave Vrabel that they can build off of in years to come. The Seahawks, I feel, are getting their opportunity with Sam Darnold right here, right now. And maybe you could squeeze another year, maybe 2 out of Sam Darnold in the long run. But I feel like the Patriots have that long run hooked and set into place. So for me, I look at a dominant team and I think that the Patriots are going to be around for the next couple of years. I look at the Seahawks and I almost feel that this is a win now moment. You win now, you win this year because you don't know what the next year holds. We talked about 4 or 5 years ago how this Rams team put all their chips into one pile, said that they invested all into Matthew Stafford and they gone on and they won that Super Bowl but the fear was anything afterwards was going to be held to pay as Rams fans because they were going to go downhill and tank. Somehow they kept themselves alive. But the same question I'm going to ask for the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think they put in all their blue chips yet on Sam Darnold. But how many years can you get the same consistency out of this team that can keep your team alive, that can keep your organization going? And it's important. Football is about a win now mentality because there's no promises for next season. And that's what both of these teams face. Is a win now mentality. The Patriots may have themselves a quarterback for the next 3 to 5 years, but they need Drake May to finish off a season in the playoffs with good performances. So if you ask me today, and it's going to probably change over the next 24 hours because I will give you my ultimate prediction tomorrow. But if you ask me today who I think would walk away with the Super Bowl, I do say it's a fair shot. They both got really good defenses. I think Sam Darnold it has a little bit more consistent offensively, but they're going up with a dangerous defense. But if you ask me who's going to win, you got to also ask me who needs it more right now, and I think the Seahawks have it. I think they're just a little bit more complete. I think they are a little bit more well put together. I think the Patriots are still learning, are still adapting. I think a lot of this success, especially this late in the year, has backed off, has kind of not even sunk in yet. And right now, if I have to go based off of what I saw last year, what I saw last playoff game, what I saw throughout the playoffs this year, I think the momentum holds with the Seattle Seahawks. I feel like the Bo Nix injury kind of costed the Broncos the Super Bowl run. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be a good game. And that's all I could ask for is a good game. I want a good game. I don't really care who wins. I just want a good competitive game. If it's low scoring, fine. But it needs to be a good game. That means Drake May is going to have to step up, So, who do you guys have winning the Super Bowl? I'm going to put out a tweet and a question so you guys could vote later on tonight. That will go up until Sunday. I'm excited about that. Tomorrow, we will give you our predictions. We will get ready for SmackDown. I think I put a question out there for on X that I will have to review. It's probably the Super Bowl question, I think. I don't remember. I did it earlier this week. But we are going to get you guys ready for weekend sports coming in tomorrow episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to our episode today. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you're listening to us on our audio platforms, please follow so you don't miss a single episode of the TNC Sports Talk. Please be sure to take time and follow us on our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, as well as YouTube. Please follow, engage into the conversations that we bring to the table. I want to hear from you guys. And who knows, maybe our conversation makes the show one of these days. That is all the time I have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And until next time, until tomorrow, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.